Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating source analysis of one of the most closed-off, highly regulated societies on the planet. We're literally looking at the anatomy of a dictatorship, specifically zeroing in on daily life in North Korea. We're going to objectively break down exactly how this system operates day in and day out for the average citizen, so let's jump right in.
Okay, let's dive into this. A country ruled by fear, propaganda, and extreme control. Now, I want you to look at that not just as some dramatic tagline, but really as the foundational thesis for our entire explainer today. Basically, every single thing we're about to explore, every mechanism, every societal rule, roots right back to these three pillars. It sets the stage for understanding how a nation manages human behavior on a massive, unprecedented scale.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with extreme control, move into basic freedoms, look at the chilling cost of dissent, dissect the state engine, and wrap up with lessons for freedom. Think of this less like a syllabus and more like exploring the dramatic anatomy of a totalitarian system.
Section 1. Extreme Control, focusing on the overarching theme of the Kim family dictatorship.
The source material makes a really crucial point right off the bat. The rule of the Kim family isn't just some abstract political theory. You know, in a lot of places, politics is just something you catch on the evening news, right? But here, this dictatorship is a daily, inescapable reality. It fundamentally shapes the lives of all ordinary citizens. It dictates the exact environment they wake up in, the rules they absolutely have to follow, and the structures they navigate every single day. The central government is basically this constant, unyielding background noise to every mundane activity.
Moving on to Section 2. Basic Freedoms. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it brings us right down to the micro level of daily life to examine the specific restrictions. The source highlights that citizens are essentially stripped of everyday autonomy. Take travel, for instance. You can't just randomly decide to take a road trip to the next town over, let alone hop on a plane and leave the country. Movement is heavily restricted. You literally need explicit state permission. Then, think about fashion. The state actually approves specific haircuts and clothing styles. Personal expression is policed to enforce total conformity. And maybe the biggest one, access to information. There's no global internet for the average citizen, just a tightly controlled state intranet. TV and radio, locked to state channels. The entire flow of information is completely curated.
Think about your own morning routine for a second. You wake up, pick out whatever you want to wear, maybe scroll through some international news on your phone, decide which route to take to work. That's everyday autonomy. Now contrast that with state dictation. Imagine waking up in a state-assigned house, putting on clothes that fit strict government guidelines, listening to news that only praises one leader, and traveling only exactly where you're authorized to go. When you put it into perspective like that, it's mind-blowing just how deep the state's reach goes into private, everyday life.
Section 3. The cost of dissent and the role of systemic fear. Let's zoom out and look at how the regime handles any kind of pushback. A core finding from the analysis is that a pervasive culture of fear successfully silences all dissent. And you have to understand, fear isn't just some accidental byproduct here. It is an active, primary tool engineered by the regime. When the consequences for breaking the rules are universally known and just unimaginably severe, self-censorship naturally becomes the norm. The state doesn't even always have to actively silence people because this culture of fear ensures that citizens silence themselves, and very often, they silence each other.
So the crucial point is understanding this mechanism called generational punishment. The source explains this as a system where entire families, sometimes up to 3 generations, are sent to political prison camps for the actions of just one individual. Think about that. If you commit a political offense, it's not just you paying the price. Your parents, your spouse, your kids, they're punished right alongside you. This is absolutely vital to grasp because it perfectly illustrates how that culture of fear is permanently enforced. The psychological weight of knowing your actions could literally doom your entire family, that ensures nearly absolute compliance.
Section 4. The state engine. Let's look at the specific daily mechanisms that actually keep this totalitarian machine running. And this brilliantly illustrates the dual engine of the dictatorship. It's a two-pronged approach. Step 1. Forced labor sustains the physical economy. Step 2. Propaganda brainwashes the population. It's really a masterclass in total societal management. The state demands physical exploitation to keep its infrastructure moving, while simultaneously using deep psychological manipulation to make sure the workforce stays compliant and ideologically aligned.
The physical economy is sustained entirely on the backs of forced labor.
Because North Korea is heavily sanctioned and cut off from global trade, the source points out that its economic survival relies almost entirely on its own citizens. But we're not talking about a normal job market here. The state assigns your job, dictates your output, and often demands grueling physical labor with no fair pay and absolutely no right to quit or change careers. The survival of the nation's infrastructure rests on a population that literally has zero choice in the matter.
But physical control is never really enough on its own, is it? State propaganda actively brainwashes citizens from the inside out. The analysis emphasizes that from the second a citizen is born, they are surrounded by messaging that deifies the Kim family and completely demonizes the outside world. By controlling the narrative, rewriting history, tweaking current events, dominating all media, the regime actually shapes the very thoughts of its people. This psychological engine is incredibly effective because it's designed to stop the very idea of rebellion from forming in someone's mind before it can even be spoken out loud. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Lessons for Freedom. Let's pivot to the most important takeaway from the source material regarding our own lives.
We'll wrap up our explainer today with this really thought-provoking question directly from the source. What lessons can we learn from this extreme control to protect our own freedoms? By studying the anatomy of a dictatorship, by really seeing how everyday autonomy, access to info, and free expression are systematically dismantled, we gain this profound appreciation for the liberties we honestly take for granted most days. It's a stark reminder of the immense value of our autonomy and why it's so absolutely crucial to stay vigilant against the erosion of basic human rights. I highly encourage you to reflect on how the structures we mapped out today compare to your own society. Thank you so much for joining me on The Explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.